Hey everyone, hope you're doing well today. Today I want to talk about a subject that is very important to me right now, and that's language. I just completed Mark England's course on upgrading my language. It's called Procabulary. And so I want to share some of what my experience was in taking this course, sharing what I learned, what Mark is teaching, and I just want to recommend the program to anyone who is currently in market to upgrade their language and upgrade their lives. So first off, one of the things I think is very important that Mark speaks about is the importance of our words. And this can't be understated because our words create our destination, our destiny. And why is that? Well, he presents somewhat of a flow chart in a different video that I watched about him actually. And he talks about how words create our thoughts, which create and shape our stories, our identities, our reality, and our destiny or our destination. And what I've seen, my experience in the world, is that so much of the conflict that we're experiencing, both externally with other people and internally within ourselves, is the result of the language that we're using, the words. And so I want to get into this. Here's what Mark teaches in the course is, well, first off, what is the course? The course is a 21-day module that took me more than 21 days to complete. It took me a few months, actually. I came back, I ended up stopping and coming back to the course, which I actually think is a really good sign. That usually when I stop something, I don't come back to it. So for me to come back to this and feel like I've really gotten a lot out of it, I think is wonderful and a testament to the program. It is a core language upgrade is what the program is essentially. It's teaching the user how to improve their language, to communicate more effectively. The course is priced at $300. I think a lot of people are going to think that this is an expensive price. For me, I thought it was a lot initially. And I just want to say that it was totally worth it. I wouldn't have used the money for anything else. And I feel grateful that this course was created. So thank you, Mark. So what does Procabulary teach and what did I learn? Essentially that there are two types of languages. And I like to think of these types as being buckets. Like if I were sitting beneath a tree and picking fruit from this tree, I'd be placing one type of these apples in one bucket and another type of these apples in another bucket. The rotten apples would go into this bucket called conflict language. Now, conflict language is language that is soft, it's language that negates, and it's language that projects. And I'll give examples of each of these types of conflict language here in a second. But as I'm picking these apples from this tree, I'm also throwing the good apples, the juicy apples, into this bucket called architectural language. Now, architectural language is language that is clear, direct, precise. It is language that is solid. It is language that reflects, and it is language that affirms. So as I'm going about my daily life and I'm listening to this program, I'm seeing how I'm constantly pulling rotten apples from my language tree and expecting good results. So really this course took me through where I'm falling short in my language and how I can improve. And Mark teaches a process called translations. You can think of these two types of languages as being synonymous with English and Spanish, any other type of language. So the goal is to move from conflict language, these rotten apples, into architectural language, these juicy apples that essentially shape our future, shape our destiny, shape our destination. So I came up with a few examples, one for each type, or one for each characteristic of conflict language and of architectural language, so that we can translate them together. So let's begin. The first characteristic of conflict language is soft talk, language that is soft. So the sentence that I came up with was something like, I'm thinking about going to the store later. Maybe. So you can see how this type of language, this soft talk, is ambiguous, it's indirect, and it causes more questions than answers. So some questions that arise, well, are you going to the store? When will you make that decision? Are you going to go or not? So translating this conflict language, this soft talk, into architectural language or solid talk would be, I'm going to the store this evening at 6 p.m. Would you like something? No, I added that extra thing on there, but you can see how that is much more clear, much more concise language, whereas the former was just leading to indecisiveness, anxiety maybe. Am I going to the store? Am I not? When should I make that decision? So this is the goal, moving to these juicy apples that satiate our lives, that help us move forward. Another characteristic of conflict language is language that projects. This is an interesting one. So here's an example that I came up with. He's making me angry. He's making me angry. Some questions arise. Is this accurate? Is he really making me angry? Who is thinking my thoughts? Who is feeling my feelings? With whom does the responsibility of feeling angry lie? Is it with him or is it with me? So translation. I'm making me angry. It hurts. It hurts to hear that, it makes me feel uncomfortable having to own my life, having to take responsibility for my feelings and my actions. It's what's necessary to progress on my path and to create harmony, to create peace. So this is the translation. I'm making me angry. The third characteristic of conflict language is language that negates. language that negates. Here's an example I came up with. I don't like the way she treated me. Let's dive into the sentence before we translate it this time. I don't like the way she treated me. Well, what do you like? See, the thing about negations is that it places the emphasis and the focus on what you don't want. So a question arises, is your vision for what you do want just as clear as your vision for what you don't want? Translation. This one's a tough one because it's not direct. Some of these take an indirect translation. So I don't like the way she treated me. This could be translated in, I need to make my boundaries explicit. Or I need to formulate my boundaries. How do you like to be treated? I like to be treated with respect. That's a more direct translation. But sometimes the indirect translations get into that deeper subconscious forces that are actually driving our language. So when we're translating these rotten apples into these juicy ones, it's causing us to reflect on ourselves. It's causing us to go inward and take ownership for our own lives. And so that's what we're doing here. This is what Mark is teaching with Procabulary. This is the path of going inward and wanting to know peace, wanting to know how this thing operates. One place to start is by observing our language. Are we using language that's creating conflict within ourselves and with others? Or are we using language that's creating harmony and shaping a future that we really want to be in? So this is some of what I learned by taking the Procabulary course. I highly recommend it to you and to anyone that's on the fence who's considering upgrading their language. And I just want to thank Mark and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please leave some feedback. I'm just currently sharing the things that I'm interested in and feel passionate about. So if this resonated with you, let me know. All right. Have a good one. Talk soon.